Welcome to today's lesson, Dividing Fractions and Mixed Numbers. Today we're going to discuss how you can divide a fraction into a mixed number by turning it into an improper fraction and multiplying. Let's go ahead and get started. We are going to begin today by reviewing mixed numbers. A mixed number is a number that has the whole number written separately from the fractional part. Now, when you're dividing fractions and mixed numbers, you want to change your mixed number into an improper fraction. An improper fraction takes the whole number and adds it to the numerator so that you just have one top-heavy fractional amount. We are going to begin today by changing these mixed numbers into improper fractions. And then we can finish our equation. When you're trying to convert a mixed number into an improper fraction, you need to start by focusing on the denominator. This denominator is going to tell you how many pieces you have in your fractional part. That means you also need to change your two whole numbers into fractional parts as well. So I have 8ths as my fractional part, and now I changed my two wholes into 8/8 plus 8/8 plus 1/8. And that gives me 17/8. Now, you won't always be able to draw out all of your fractional amounts, so there's another strategy that you can use. You can multiply the whole number times your denominator. 2 times 8 equals 16. You then add that value to your numerator. So we have 1 plus 16, which equals 17, our numerator, and then you keep your denominator the same, which is going to be 8ths. Let's go ahead and try this with our second problem. We have 1 3/4. Our first step is to focus on our denominator. We need to break our whole into fourths. So we now have 4/4 plus 3/4. That's going to give us an improper fraction of 7/4. Now let's check our work by using our multiplication strategy. We take our whole number and multiply it by our denominator. 1 times 4 equals 4. We then add that to our numerator. 3 plus 4 equals 7, which we got as our numerator, and you keep your denominator the same, which is going to be fourths. You have done a great job converting your mixed numbers into improper fractions. But we're not finished yet. You still need to divide. Now, in order to divide fractions, we use a strategy called the flip and multiply strategy. This strategy makes you find the inverse of division. The inverse of division, or the opposite of division, is multiplication. Once you find the inverse of division, you then need to find the reciprocal of your second fraction. The reciprocal of 7/4 is 4/7. So you will be flipping your fraction to find the reciprocal. Your last step is to multiply your new numerators across. 17 times 4 equals 68. 8 times 7 equals 56. Now you can also convert this back into a mixed number by dividing out your denominator into your numerator. Let's practice what we have learned by dividing 3 2/3 divided by 2 2/5. So these are both mixed numbers, so we need to convert them into improper fractions. To do that, let's practice our flip and multiply strategy. Our first step is to multiply our whole number times our denominator. 3 times 3 equals 9, and then we add that to our numerator. 2 plus 9 equals 11, and we keep our denominator the same, thirds. Let's convert 2 2/5. We start by multiplying our whole number by our denominator. 2 times 5 equals 10, and then we just add that to our numerator. 2 plus 10 equals 12, and our denominator stays the same, fifths. Our next step is to find the inverse of division, which is going to be multiplication. Once we find the inverse of division, we then find the reciprocal of our second fraction. The reciprocal of 12/5 is 5/12. Now our last step is to multiply our numerators and denominators. 11 times 5 equals 55. 3 times 12 equals 36. So how do you change an improper fraction back into a mixed number? Well, you need to find out how many times your denominator can fit into your numerator. So we have 55, 36, and 36 can only go into 55 one whole time. So we're only going to subtract out one whole, which is 36/36. That's going to leave us with 19/36. So 55/36 written as a mixed number would be one whole and 19/36. Lynette is working on the equation below. She knows that her answer is not reasonable, yet she cannot find her mistake. Can you? Let's walk through each of the steps together so that we can identify her mistake. We have 5 1/9 that she's dividing by 4 2/10. You can see that she converted her mixed numbers into improper fractions. She started by underlining her whole number and multiplying it by her denominator. 5 times 9 equals 45, which she then added to the numerator. 45 plus 1 equals 46, and she kept the denominator the same. It looks good so far. Let's move on to 4 2/10. She multiplied her whole number 4 times 10, which is the denominator. 4 times 10 equals 40, and she added that to her numerator. 40 plus 2 equals 42, and she kept her denominator the same. Great! She properly converted her mixed numbers into improper fractions. Let's see if she did the next step right. You can see that she circled the division sign and found the inverse of division, which is multiplication. But wait a second. Then she just multiplied across. She never found the reciprocal of 42/10. That's a really big problem. That created a huge answer. Let's help her out. Let's start by writing the reciprocal of 42/10. We're going to change it to 10 over 42. Now we can go ahead and we can multiply across. 46 times 10 equals 460. 9 times 42 equals 378. Our last step is to change this back into a mixed number. Now we can do that by subtracting out one whole, which is going to be 378 378ths. That's going to leave us with our one whole that we took out and 82 378ths. Let's take a moment to review what you've learned in today's lesson. When you're trying to divide mixed numbers, your first step is to convert them both into improper fractions. To do this, you need to multiply your whole number by your denominator, and then you're going to add that to your numerator. So 2 1/4 written as an improper fraction is going to be 9/4. 1 3/5 written as an improper fraction is going to be 8/5. Your next step is to find the inverse of division, which is going to be multiplication, and then find the reciprocal of your second fraction. The reciprocal of 8/5 is 5/8. Then you can multiply across. 9 times 5 equals 45, and 4 times 8 equals 32. Now your last step is to convert this back into a mixed number. In order to do that, you need to find out how many times your denominator can fit into your numerator. 32 can only fit into 45 one time, so we will subtract one whole, which is 32 out of 32. So we're going to take that one whole and we're going to rewrite it in our mixed number. Now, when we subtract 45 minus 32, that's going to leave us with a numerator of 13, and our denominator of 32 stays the same.